Comfort me, comfort me, comfort me, oh my soul. Comfort me, comfort me, comfort me, oh my soul. Sing with me. Sing with me. Sing with me. Sing with me, oh my soul. Sing with me. Sing with me. Sing with me, oh my soul. Speak for me. Speak for me. Speak for me. Speak for me, oh my soul. Speak for me. Speak for me. Speak for me, oh my soul. Dance with me. Dance with me. Dance with me. Dance with me, oh my soul. Dance with me. Dance with me. Dance with me, oh my soul. And comfort me. Comfort me. Comfort me. Comfort me, oh my soul. Comfort me. Comfort me. Comfort me, oh my soul.
Troy Elwood Bartley of Independence, Missouri. Brianna Alexandria Moffitt of Savannah, Georgia. William Jerome Rivers Sr. of Willingboro, New Jersey. Kennedy LaDon Sanders of Waycross, Georgia. Felix Antonio Barrios of Spring, Texas. Casey Frankowski of Rensselaer, New York. John Gracia of Schenectady, New York. Christopher J. Chambers of Maryland. Nathan Gage Ingram of Texas. Stephen R. Dwyer of Clarksville, Tennessee. Shane M. Barnes of Sacramento, California. Tanner W. Groen of Gorham, New Hampshire. Andrew P. Southard of Apache Junction, Arizona. Cade M. Wolf of Mankato, Minnesota. Donovan Davis of Olathe, Kansas. Jack Casey of Dover, New Hampshire. Alec Langan of Chandler, Arizona. Miguel Nava of Traverse City, Michigan. Benjamin Moulton of Emmett, Idaho. Jeffrey T. Horniman of Andover, Minnesota. Eric V. Spendlove of St. George, Utah. Luke A. Unrath of Riverside, California. Terrell K. Brayman of Pittsford, New York. Zachary E. Lavoie of Oviedo, Florida. Jake M. Turnage of Kennesaw, Georgia. Jake M. Gallagher of Pittsfield, Massachusetts. Brian K. Johnson of Reynoldsburg, Ohio. Eleanor V. LeBeau of Belleville, Illinois. Spencer R. Collart of Arlington, Virginia. And Tobin J. Lewis of Jefferson, Colorado. These are people who died this year, in the past year, while serving in the US military. So they are the newest ones we remember tomorrow on Memorial Day. And our hearts are big enough to also hold others today who have died in war this year, not just those who serve our country. There are other people we hold in our hearts today. People killed in war in Israel and in Gaza, in Ukraine, in Burma, in Sudan, in the Maghreb region of Africa, and in many other places touched by violence in our world. Our hearts break for the loss of human life, and we pray and work and hope for peaceful resolution to conflict in our world. And today we grieve and mourn our beloved dead, the ones we loved and knew and lost. So come, let us remember together. Come, let us worship together.
This morning's words of welcome come from Nicole McKay. We gather to remember those who could not grow old, and those forced to grow old long before their time. We gather to mourn and grieve with one another all of our losses, the people, the stories, the loved ones, and the futures that could have been. We gather to do the hard work of facing the difficult realities of our present and our past, where there is conflict, violence, war, and hatred. We gather to hold space for silence as we try to make meaning of our history, to help us work for peace and justice today. We gather to rekindle our source of hope for our future by recognizing in one another our shared humanity as we join in a concerted commitment for a better tomorrow. We gather because we need community to do all of this holy work. Let us be that community. Welcome, everyone.
And as we gather, a few announcements. Voting is underway for our annual congregational meeting that happened last Sunday. So all eligible church member voters should have received their ballots by mail or email, and the ballots are due back in the church office a week from tomorrow. So return them however you can. If you are with us in the building today, I invite you to pass by the Lost and Found on your way out today. It's on the coat rack near the single stall bathrooms. There are really some treasures there that we would love to return to the people who brought them, especially some really great coffee mugs. So in 2 weeks, we will be getting rid of all of the items there, perhaps selling them at our White Elephant sale, or donating them or throwing away what can't be handled another way. So if it's yours, go get it. And speaking of the White Elephant sale, there's some times to help with publicity this week. You get to hang out with Rick Johnson and drive around town. It's one of the easiest volunteer roles that we have at our church. So you can learn more about that at the sign-up table in the foyer, or sign-ups are also online. And donation drop-offs for the sale start on Thursday and will continue on Wednesdays and Thursdays from 4 to 7 and Sundays right after church. So there's places to sign up to help with the processing donations and the sale day itself, online and in the foyer. The sale is on June 15th, so spread the word. And remember, as you figure out what you might not need in your house anymore, that we don't accept clothing, electronics, or anything too big to fit in your car. And ask yourself, would I give this to a friend? And if the answer is no, it probably doesn't belong in our sale. Okay. 2 weeks from today, we will be beginning a Me and White Supremacy book circle. So many of us watched the Isaac fireside chat with Layla Saad, the book's author, a while ago, and this book circle will be a chance to work through and discuss the book in a small group. So this offering is for people who benefit from white privilege and will happen after services on Sundays. There'll be a light lunch and childcare if you need it. There's signups online. Okay, let us sing.
Yes, while I open my hymnal, I invite you to rise and body your spirit to sing together. Do not be alarmed, the organ will be playing.
I'd like to call Mara up to light the chalice. Memorial Day by Charles F. Flagg, adapted. In honor of those we have known and loved in the past, in recognition of the gifts and sacrifices they have made on our behalf, and in our sincere hopes that we may be worthy of their memory, we light our candles, we give our thanks, and we light our chalice.
In addition to our chalice lit here at People's Church, some of our people who are with us on Zoom this morning have also lit chalices. So there are chalices lit in the Millwood neighborhood, on Munson Lake near Grand Junction, Westwood, and in Vine. What a gift it is to be together in this time, even when we are not all together in one place. I'd now like to invite our children forward for a story. Oh, Nickersons, Do you have a new baby in your family?
Yes.
Yeah.
On the way here, the baby's crying so much.
Oh, she's in the car because she was crying so much? Okay. Babies are like that. I'm just impressed that you guys are all here because I didn't do much for a while after I had babies. So I am so glad all of you are here. And I have a question for you guys. Can you think of something that every single person has in their house and in their home? What would you say?
They all have kitchens.
They all have kitchens. Okay. Dottie, what can you think of?
Beds.
Beds. Probably everybody has a bed. What about you?
Couches.
A couch. What about you, Mara?
Beds.
Beds. Gigi, what do you think?
They all have closets.
Closets. What do you think, Georgie? Different rooms. What do you think, Rose? Marshmallows. I wish. I don't think there are any in my house. DeForest, what do you think?
A roof.
A roof? Oh, yep. What do you think?
Water.
Water? We hope so. Herschel, what do you think?
A door.
A what?
A door.
A door? What about you?
I was gonna say door too.
A door. Yeah, that's a a toilet. We hope so. Oh, okay. I think, is there anybody who hasn't shared who wants to? So our story comes from a long time ago in India. And an important thing to know about a long time ago in India is the thing they could think of that everyone had in their house was mustard seed. So do you see these little seeds? You can take one if you want to hold it. Do you see these tiny seeds? They're something you'd use in cooking. Kind of like how in a house now, maybe every house has some salt or some sugar or some pepper. I mean, you can if you want. I don't know if they're gonna taste good like this.
Can we pet them?
You can pet them if you want. So you can see, okay. So you can see these tiny seeds. So this was a kind of thing that everybody would cook with. And so everybody would have at least a few mustard seeds. Yeah, if you don't want to carry it, it's fine. Okay. So once upon a time, a long time ago in India, there was a young woman, and her name was Kisa. And Kisa, after she got married, had a little baby. And a long time ago, it was not uncommon for little babies to die. And so her little baby died. Now we have much better medical care. It's much rarer. We don't know. The story doesn't tell us how she died, but she died. And Kisa was so sad. She did not want her baby to be dead. She wanted her baby to be alive. And so she went to the wisest person that she knew, a wise teacher that we now think of as the Buddha. You can see an image of him up there on the screen. And she said, I do not want my baby to be dead. I want my baby to be alive. Can you help me? And he thought for a while, and he said, I can help you. What you need to do is go to a house, go to a family where no one has died, and bring me one of their mustard seeds. And she said, oh, I can do that, no trouble. So she started walking and went to the first home she saw and knocked on the door and asked and said, oh, can I borrow some mustard seed? And people said, of course you can. And then she said, oh, wait, but has anyone in this family died? And they said, oh yeah, someone in our family died. We had an uncle who died not too long ago. And she said, oh, I'm so sorry. What was his name? And they told some stories about him. And then they went to the next house. And they said, can I borrow a mustard seed? And the people said, of course, we have so many seeds. But then she said, but has anybody in this family died? And the person said, yes, our grandmother died. And she felt sad, and they talked about her. And they kept going. Do any of you have a family where no one has ever died?
Well, my
grandma?
My grandma Gigi died.
Your grandma Gigi, yeah. Have you ever had anyone die that you love?
My grandpa Calvin died.
Your grandpa Calvin, yeah.
Oh, but my two grandpas didn't die.
Your grandmas did not die. Okay, good.
My mom's dad's brother died.
Your mom's dad's brother, yeah. Yeah.
Great grandpa died.
Your great grandpa, yeah. The thing is, every family that she visited, every family that we know has had someone that they love die. And so Kisa just kept searching and kept searching. And after a while, she realized everybody has people that they love die. And it's just part of being alive. It's not fair, and it's not right, and it's not good, but it happens. Yeah, do you have a thought?
You can't live without dying.
You can't live without dying. It is part of being alive, is that being alive, that you will die. And so after a while, Kisa maybe didn't feel less sad, but her sadness changed because she realized so many other people shared the same kind of sadness. And after a while, it got easier to be sad because she knew she was less alone in her sadness and her grief. And that was the thing that the wise teacher named the Buddha was trying to teach her all along. That we can be sad, but when we are sad, we are not alone. And being sad with other people makes it easier to be sad. So that is our story. Thank you for sharing your ideas with me about what people have in houses and your stories about who that you love who has died. So we're going to sing you off to your class. Oh, do you have one final thought for us?
Have fun saying.
Yeah?
The mustard seeds taste spicy.
Mustard seeds taste spicy. I mean, it is what mustard comes from. So when you put if you put mustard on a hot dog at a barbecue this weekend, maybe think about this story for half a second and then enjoy your hot dog. Okay, let's go to class. Yep. Thank you, Aurora.
Love to guide you on your way, and may the joy of life surround you wherever you may go. Go forth in peace in search of wisdom, with love to guide you on your way, and may the joy of life surround you wherever you may go.
People are generous people. Those of you who are here in person today perhaps noticed as you drove in a bunch of little flags by the driveway, and that is evidence of the days, I think, of work that happened this week to make our rain garden function as a rain garden. There was heavy equipment, there was flowers, there was lots of labor on very hot days to make this a garden that will collect some of the runoff from our parking lots and filter it and return it to the aquifer a little cleaner than it otherwise would be. So thank you to the many who gave time and expertise to that project, and to the others who will continue to maintain it in the months and years ahead. It makes a difference. It is one of the ways we live our values here at our church. So now this is the moment where I invite you to continue to be generous. The offering will now be received.
We
Please join me in giving thanks for all that sustains us. From the countless gifts we each have been given, gifts of life and love and sustenance, we bring these small portions to share in the works of love which none of us can accomplish alone. Our first reading is a poem by Deborah A. Miranda. The title references La Llorona, a ghost in the folklore of Mexico and the American Southwest. She is a woman who drowned her children after her husband betrayed her, and now wanders the world in mourning. Advice from La Llorona by Deborah A. Miranda. Each grief has its unique side. Choose the one that appeals to you. Go gently. Your body needs energy to repair the amputation. Humor phantom pain. Your brain cells are soaked with salt. Connections fail unexpectedly and often. Ask for help. Accept help. Read your grief like the daily newspaper. Headlines may have information you need. Scream. Drop kick the garbage can across the street. Don't feel guilty if you have a good time. Don't act as if you haven't been hit by a Mack truck. Do things a little differently, but don't make a lot of changes. Revel in contradiction. Talk to the person who died. Give her a piece of your mind. Try to touch someone at least once a day. Approach grief with determination. Pretend the finish line doesn't keep receding. Lean into the pain. You can't outrun it. Our second reading is a social media post by author Elizabeth Gilbert. She wrote this shortly after the death of her best friend and romantic partner, Raya Elias. People keep asking me how I'm doing, and I'm not always sure how to answer that. It depends on the day. It depends on the minute. Right this moment, I'm okay. Yesterday, not so good. Tomorrow, we'll see. Here's what I have learned about grief, though. I have learned that grief is a force of energy that cannot be controlled or predicted. It comes and goes on its own schedule. Grief does not obey your plans or your wishes. Grief will do whatever it wants to you, whenever it wants to. In that regard, grief has a lot in common with love. The only way that I can handle grief, then, is the same way I handle love, by not handling it, by bowing down before its power, in complete humility. When grief comes to visit me, it's like being visited by a tsunami. I am given just enough warning to say, oh my God, this is happening right now. And then I drop to the floor on my knees and let it rock me. How do you survive the tsunami of grief? By being willing to experience it without resistance. The conversation of grief, then, is one of prayer and response. Grief says to me, you will never love anyone the way you loved Raya. And I reply, I am willing for that to be true. Grief says, she's gone and she's never coming back. I reply, I'm willing for that to be true. Grief says, you will never hear that laugh again. I say, I am willing. Grief says, you will never smell her skin again. I get down on the floor, on my knees, and through my sheets of tears, I say, I am willing. This is the job of the living, to be willing to bow down before everything that is bigger than you. And nearly everything in this world is bigger than you. I don't know where Raya is now. It's not mine to know. I only know that I will love her forever and that I am willing.
Our final reading today is the poem The Cure for Sorrow by Jan Richardson from a poetry collection of the same name, written in response to the sudden and unexpected death of the poet's husband. The Cure for Sorrow. Because I do not know any medicine for grief but to let ourselves grieve. Because I do not know any cure for sorrow but to let ourselves sorrow. Because I do not know any remedy but to let the heart break, to let it fall open, then to let it fall open still more. Because I do not know how to mend the unmendable, unfixable, unhealable wound that keeps finding itself healed as we tend it, as we follow the line of it, as we let it lead us on the path it knows. Because I do not know any solace but to give ourselves into the love that will never cease to find us, that will never lose its hold on us, that will never abandon us to the sorrow for which it holds the cure.
I invite you to find a comfortable singing position in your seats. Where my free spirit onward leads, well, there shall be my way. By my own light illumined, I've journeyed night and day. newborn child, but it includes all creatures, be they tame or be they wild. My family upon this earth includes all living things, on land or in the ocean deep, or borne aloft on wings. The ever-spinning universe, well, there shall be my home. I sing and spin within it, as through this life I roam. Eternity is hard to ken, and harder still is this. A human life, when truly seen, is briefer than a kiss.
Life means grief in time. Love means grief in time. This is one of the truest truths I know. Love means grief in time. Love always or nearly always ends with grief, and so to love is to invite grief to come sometime, somehow, some way. The truth that we know is that everything ends. Everything. Every life ends with death, as our children said so plainly to us this morning. Every relationship ends somehow, sometime. Our abilities, our health, everything that makes us us, and everything that makes those we love will end one way or another. All human creations, art and nations and ideas will end someday. And on the largest scale, everything we know, species and ecosystems and planets and stars, has an expiration date. Everything will end. I do not like this truth, and I try not to think about it too much because it does make it hard to function when you walk around thinking everything is ending. But that doesn't make it any less true. And when the endings come, whether that's death or loss or extinction or the end of a friendship, a divorce, an illness, whatever the ending, there is grief. Whatever love we hold for one another or for ourselves has grief added to it for a time. We grieve what is lost. The wise ones tell us that grief is the metabolization of change, which means grief is the way that our minds, our souls, our bodies make sense of change and loss and ending and find a way to live in whatever the new reality is. So if you love anything, anyone, grief is coming. And those who love you will grieve you at some undetermined point in the future. When love ends or transitions to another form, grief emerges, sometimes alongside the love, sometimes in place of it. And I wish this could be different. I wish there was a way to save ourselves from the grief that is the painful part of love. But the only way to avoid grief is not to love, to become a numb, unfeeling, loveless, hollow version of a person, which would be in itself a tremendous loss. It would be a waking death to not have love of any sort. There's an Arabic word that points to this reality, ya aberni, which means literally, you bury me. So Arabic speakers say this to people that they love, to express the morbid hope that the other will die, that they will die before the other person, because they cannot imagine life without the person. They cannot imagine the grief that will come. The speaker doesn't want to be the one who bears the grief of that relationship. So, Ya Aberni, please don't leave or die. Ya Aberni, I love you so much that I can't imagine a grief, or I can't imagine bearing the grief that this love will transform into someday. Ya Aberni. But if we love, grief is coming somehow, someday. How then do we live? We live with gratitude, because when we are aware of how fragile we all are, how fragile this world is, how unlikely any of us being here and connecting with other beings is, we can be grateful for what is here right now. With nothing beyond this moment guaranteed, we can live with gratitude, appreciation, and presence now. Gratitude and presence to who and what we love best. And we protect and guard what we love and what we value, doing what we can to keep the love alive, and knowing, maybe in the back of our minds or hearts somewhere, that it is ultimately a losing game, because things will end. And so we live with feeling. There's a temptation when we are in the midst of pain, of grief, of loss, to shut ourselves down, cut off our emotions, somehow numb ourselves, often with alcohol or food or mindlessly scrolling social media or too much TV or whatever your vice of choice is. We all have them. But to somehow numb ourselves until the pain feels manageable. But that cuts us off from all that is. I wish there was a way to pick and choose, some cosmic menu that we could use to order only joy and love and not have to deal with the pain and the grief, but that doesn't exist. If we cut ourselves off, we don't get the good stuff either. As Jan Richardson writes, because I do not know any medicine for grief but to let ourselves grieve, because I do not know any cure for sorrow but to let ourselves sorrow. Because I do not know any remedy but to let our heart break, to let it fall open, then let it fall open still more. The remedy for a broken heart is paradoxically an open heart, feeling it all, letting the grief come in its waves and have its way with us, being willing to feel it, to see what it might have to show us and to teach us. And in the midst of grief, we need to remember that grief is a full body process. As poet Deborah Miranda reminds us in the poem John read earlier, your body needs energy to repair the amputation, humor phantom pain. Your brain cells are soaked with salt and connections fail unexpectedly and often. When we grieve, taking care of our bodies is so important. Eating, sleeping, moving. That is how we start to metabolize the change and live into this new reality, making our way through and growing the capacity to live brokenhearted and open-hearted at the same time. And in times of grief, we also need communities. We need to gather after losses. Every culture I know has a tradition of gathering after a death, somehow, some way. Here at People's Church, that can look like a memorial service or an open house, or once a couple years ago, a memorial cabaret, which was a delight. And here in our congregation, we also mark losses at least twice a year in our Sunday morning services, lighting candles for grief and loss. In the fall, it's usually focused on animals and ecosystems. And here in the spring, we light candles for death and grief and other losses. So if you are with us today, holding grief and loss, I invite you to come forward and light a candle. If you're with us on Zoom, you can request one in the chat box. So the way we're going to do this is come up the side aisles and light one in the center where the table with the sand and the candles are. The lesson that the Buddha was trying to teach Kisa, the young woman whose baby died, was that she was not alone. It doesn't fix it, right? But it helps to know when you are in the midst of grief that you are not alone. And so I invite all of us to just see these candles and know that each one is for a grief and a loss, and know that we are not alone. That so many of us are alongside each other in this experience, even if we're not announcing it aloud. And it doesn't fix it, but it helps. And now we sing, because that also helps.
Yes, I invite you to rise one last time today and bow your spirit to sing together. My life flows on in endless song above earth's lamentation. I hear the real, the far off hymn that hails a new creation. Through all the tumult and the strife, I hear the music ringing. It sounds an echo in my soul. How can I keep from singing? What though the tempest round me roars? I know the truth, it liveth. What though the darkness round me close? Songs in the night it giveth. No storm can shake my inmost calm, while to that rock I'm clinging. Since love prevails in heaven and earth, how can I keep from singing? When tyrants tremble as they hear the bells of freedom ringing, when friends rejoice both far and near, how can I keep from singing? To prison cell and dungeon vile, our thoughts to them are winging. When friends by shame are undefiled, how can I keep from singing?
The work is to hold gratitude in one hand and grief in the other, and be stretched large by them. To live in this world in both a broken-hearted and an open-hearted way. And that is the work. And we have one another to cheer us on along the way. Thank goodness. So let us go out with peace and love. Let us go.